Welcome, welcome. My name is Alicia Cook, and I am the president and CEO of Friends First. And I have done so many Zoom calls, so many webinars, but today is going to be by far my favorite. Today, we are talking to many of our STARS alumni who have gone through our program. We have been serving the Denver metro area for 27 years. Well, that's not necessarily true. We've been serving the United States for 27 years because at some point in time, our programs have been in about 36 states. And currently we have programs in Denver, in Pueblo, and in 10 states. And we are looking to grow. Friends First educates and mentors teens to make positive life choices and develop healthy relationships. And we do this through a signature program called STARS. And STARS stands for Students Teaching About Relationships and Success. And one of our core values of STARS is something we call Mentor Life. Check out our t-shirts. Everybody show them your t-shirts. Woo! Mentor Life, which means to always have someone investing in you and to pay it forward by always investing in someone else. And the way we run our program, wonderful STARS coordinators like Mary. Mary, give everybody a wave.
Hi.
Tell her story a little later. She serves as mentors to high school students, and in exchange, those high school students serve as mentors to teens ages 11 to 14. Through this program, we are seeking to solve the mentoring crisis where 1 in 3 teens will never have a mentor, young people will never have a mentor, as long as we continue to rely on the adult to child model. We are going into our communities and trying to change those communities from the inside out by making the young people in that community, looking at them from an asset-based lens as opposed to a deficit, and empowering them to make the change in their own communities. And right now we are looking at equity in so many different ways, and social justice and racial injustice and all of that. One of the things I like most about this program is that 80% of mentors do not look like or come from the communities that they serve. But when you're building the mentors from within the community, then you're building mentors, a pipeline of mentors for today and in the future that look like and come from the communities they serve. And studies show when a young person has a mentor, they are 48% more likely to volunteer in their community or to become a mentor themselves. But if they are a mentor, that increases to 62%. So we are helping people to have mentors not only today, but in the future. And right now you are looking at some wonderful mentors here. I am going to start this off by introducing Mary, who is, I call her our poster child for the STARS program. She's going to tell you a little bit about her story, and then she's going to introduce to you our wonderful team of STARS alumni. I'm going to turn it over to you now, Mary.
Thank you, Alicia. Well, hi, I'm Mary Adet, and I am so thrilled to be here today. I'm so excited to be able to talk with these incredible fellow STARS alum. I say fellow because I myself was a STARS mentor way back when I was in high school, from 1998 until 2002. So as you can see, the STARS program goes way back. I started in Longmont, Colorado. I stayed involved through college, just volunteering at the STARS National Conference and helping with different STARS programs. Ended up getting a job with Friends First right out of college to run a little program in Longmont briefly until some funding ran out. And then after a few years of teaching elementary school, I was asked to come work at Friends First again. I was given the opportunity and I've been here ever since. So 2011, I began what I call my longest stint so far. And I am just so grateful. I have run STARS programs out at Bennett up until last year, at which time I shifted over to a brand new community in Commerce City. And every year being a STARS coordinator is different, but every year it's my favorite year because every year I have new mentors who just impact my life in a way that I would have never imagined. And I get the chance to be part of their life as well and see them influence their schools and their communities in beautiful ways. One of my favorite parts about STARS, though, is the STARS National Conference, because that's when STARS mentors and coordinators and volunteers from all over the United States come together to party and just be together and learn and celebrate and support one another for 4 solid days, which is, I guess, the best part, because that's when I get to hang out with people like these wonderful STARS alum that are sitting right here with me right now. So what I'm going to do is, as I introduce people, go ahead and just hold up your sign so we can kind of see where you are from, and your but then we'll also let you give a chance to introduce yourself. And when you introduce yourself, I would just ask that you tell us what high school you attended, what college you attended or are attending, if you graduated, what you're doing now, if you'd like to give a brief segment of that. And then if you would like to answer this question, you can. The question is, if you could travel to any decade, past or future, what decade would it be and why? Okay, so I'll let you think about that for just a second. And so with me today, I have Bo Amaya, Janae Hughes, Summer Breeze, Miles Lewison, and Peter Lubambella. These people are all wonderful STARS alum, and I am going to turn it over to Bo first. So Bo, if you just give us a quick introduction and answer that question, go.
All right. I'm Bo Amaya from Pueblo, Colorado. I graduated from Central High School, and then I went to CSU Pueblo and graduated from there. And now I am a high school teacher and working on my master's degree in clinical mental health counseling. And if I could travel to any decade, that's a really hard question. The first one that came to mind was like the 70s, because wasn't that like the era of like the hippies?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
I'd like to be a hippie.
Being a flower child. That's good. Awesome. All right. How about Jenny?
Hi everyone, my name is Janae Hughes. I graduated from George Washington High School in Denver in 2014. Then I graduated from Howard University in Washington, D.C. 2018. And I am now a third-year law student at Loyola University, Chicago School of Law. So when you asked the question, Mary, the first decade I thought was 2030, because I know probably like most people, I'm tired of staying indoors. So I think by 2030, hopefully we're out of this pandemic and everything is back to normal.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. All right, Summer, go ahead and introduce yourself.
Hi, my name is Summer Breeze, and I am from Longmont, Colorado. I graduated from Silver Creek High School, and I went to school I graduated in 2015, and then I went to school in California at Life Pacific University, and I graduated this year. I graduated with my bachelor's in human development psychology with a minor in biblical studies. So right now I am a behavioral therapist. I do behavioral therapy for kids who have autism, and I do ABA therapy. And I am also a recommended licensed minister, so working my way into becoming a youth pastor. I think when it comes to what decade I would want to go to, it'd have to be two years came up for me, and that was like the 1960s, and like also the because of like collecting records and stuff. I love record players and all that, and then also the 90s, because like the best TV shows came out in the 90s. So yeah.
That's great. Thank you, Summer. All right, Miles.
All right. Good evening, everybody. My name is Miles Lewison, and I am I graduated from Cherokee Trail High School. I'm a current sophomore at Morehouse College in Atlanta, Georgia. I'm also a student athletic trainer for Morehouse College. I work with cross country, basketball and track and field, which obviously takes up all my time. Unfortunately, because of the pandemic, we're not there working with the sports teams right now. So right now, what I'm doing in place of working is I'm working as a student athletic trainer, is working at Home Depot. So I'm pretty busy right now, and I'm enjoying that. But yeah, a decade for me would be a decade for me would be the 90s. Like also because well, so I'm like really big into fashion, and I do photography as well. Honestly, like combining the two, fashion photography, the best pictures and the best outfits came from the 90s. So that's what I'm doing.
I love it so much. That's good. Thanks, Miles. All right, Peter, go ahead and introduce yourself.
Hi, everybody. My name is Peter Lumbella. I'm a senior political science major, sociology minor from Denver, Colorado University. And for me, when I think about what decade I'd want to travel to, I'm like, I'm a comfortable person. So I'm like, I'm comfortable with the now. Like, I think my time is now in terms of like activism and just person and like just belonging. Because I feel like I look in the past, I'm like, yo, there's a lot of racism in the past. I look at the future and I'm like, I like where I am now, but I feel like that's a cop-out. So I have to say the 80s and the 90s, because I'm really big into like Black television shows and just, so Black television shows, so like Living Single, The Cosby Show, The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, all the like Black TV, like that's gold for me right there. So I don't want to travel to there. And I graduated from North Community Arts High School in Montbello.
Awesome. Thank you.
Mary, I just want to say I'm trying to hold back the tears. When I heard Miles' voice so deep and the maturity and everything that everybody's doing, and you and I know we've been here the longest at Friends First. I'm just trying not to cry right now. I'm so proud.
Me too. I agree. I know that, you know, probably my influence in your life is like 0.004% of like the success you've had, but I'd like to say I can take a little credit being Mama Mary and also. I'm just saying that to make myself feel better. Good. Alicia, tell us what decade you traveled to, just because.
Oh my gosh, all of yours were amazing, but I probably traveled to the 70s for a couple of reasons. Say it loud, I'm Black and I'm proud was like the saying of the 70s, you know, the Afro, but also I was a child in the 70s, and I kind of like when I was in a more innocent place now. I feel like with social media and 24/7 news, it's stolen some of the innocence of our children. And all these things were going on in the world, right? But I got to be a child, and I like that. I like that a whole lot. I got to be a child. So the 70s, loved the music, loved the fashion, and I just loved growing up in the 70s. And I like the strength of that movement. It really catapulted after the civil rights in the 60s, then that. So thank you, Mary.
Yeah, thank you. Awesome. Well, thanks for your answers, everybody. I'm just going to move on to another question, and feel free to answer it if you'd like to. In light of the state of our country right now with COVID, with recent events highlighting racial injustice and, you know, political, you know, it seems like political craziness sometimes, and just the uncertainties that seem to be the world we're living in right now. First of all, how would you say you're doing? Like, how are you doing with all of that? And what is one thing that you feel like that you've done to support your community in relation to these issues, if you feel like you've done something? So I'm gonna have, let's see, I'm just gonna pick somebody right away. Peter, would you talk to us a little bit about that question?
Yeah, so I'm gonna answer the last part of the question first. For me, one of the things that I did this summer, and I was intentional about doing, was like giving youth the platform to exercise their voice. I know Alicia just talked about the importance of being a kid, right? Just being young again. Even when you're young, you still have to live in society, and a lot of the policies and a lot of the issues that happen in society today affect you as a young person. And so as a young person, you always want to have a voice, and you always want to have a sense of control over your reality. And so throughout the summer, I spent a lot of the summer organizing marches, rallies, protests, just trying to give young people a voice, trying to make sure that they have a platform to exercise, to express themselves. And so that's how one of the ways that I empower the community. And just like a mental check right now, mental health check. I'm exhausted. I'm sad. I'm beaten because even as I talk right now, I feel like I have this conversation so often about how I feel about the current state of just Black youth, about the current state of just fighting, needing to be active against against the system per se, and it's definitely a lot. Being a student at Howard, where Kamala Harris is now she just was nominated for become like vice president. Chadwick Boseman just died as well too, like a Howard alumni. There's a lot of Black history and a lot of the Black resistance at Howard University, and so it's in my face like all the time. So it's definitely exhausting, but it's a fight that you never want to give up on.
Wow. Thank you for sharing that, and thank you for the activism that you're doing. I see your things pop up on social media sometimes, and the incredible work you spent your summer doing is it's invaluable, Peter. And I'm so grateful that you've chosen to take a step in doing that, because you're causing a huge ripple effect by just you being you.
I want to say thank you, and even you made a joke about the impact. Your impact being like 0.00044%, whatever. I think that's like, I think for all of us, that's completely false. Because I look at you, Mary, and I see your smile, and I still see like 4 years ago, our interactions, and how, like you said, that same genuine smile. You and your daughter, just how you always like been there to uplift us and embrace us, and so your impact is felt, your impact is there. So we appreciate you for that.
Thanks. That's really
I'm
sweet.
not gonna make it, you guys.
No, I was just about to say, I saw you starting to cry at the corner.
I feel like I should get up and get the tissue now.
I know, nobody warned me about that. Okay. Oh, well, thank you, Peter. That's
yeah,
kind.
I don't want to start crying either.
We might, and it's okay if we do, guys. It's totally fine. That's awesome. Would anybody else like to answer that question? Just kind of like, what are you up to and how you doing? Miles, go ahead.
So.
Oh, you muted yourself. There you go.
I'm going to answer that question as well, and kind of also switch it up and answer the back end of the question first and say, fortunately, by me being here, it's been very helpful, with obviously the help of my mom, but we've been able to, with obviously the issue of Elijah McClain, who was also unfortunately murdered in Aurora, Colorado, but we had a chance to, in light of the recent protests in Aurora, me and my mom have made the connection with the new chief of police in the Aurora Police Department. And so we've already had a phone call with her, and we just had a conversation about new protocols, things that are changing, that she's making an effort towards to change, things she's changing to make an effort towards in the city. And then also we're going to be, I think tomorrow actually, we're going to be going to her office and having an in-person conversation about how we feel. And it's going to be a few other people in the city going to have this conversation, just speaking how they feel, speaking their mind, and, really letting her hear how us civilians feel about the situation and, what we feel can be done to change. But also being a student at HBCU, most of my friends are spread out from the entire country. So pretty much my school's like 80% out of state. So I see all my friends in Virginia, DMV, like everywhere, pretty much everywhere in the country. The people are active and giving me updates about what's going on in the city. And, it's like saying like, this is a movement, like this is really happening everywhere. So it's really cool to see everybody kind of taking place and how they feel. And if people don't feel so strong, for me personally, I've had a good conversation with people who feel the other way around, and like heard both sides, and they've been good conversation. I haven't really had too much hostility, and I think that's a good thing. That's kind of something that we need right now. I feel like no matter what you agree with, I think we can all agree that there's been a lot of tension that has been escalated that we kind of have to like calm down, So I feel like right now that more of these are civilized conversations are where we're going to get into a better state Yeah.
Mary, before you ask the next question, Miles, can you tell people what HBCU is? Unfortunately, it's so common to us, but I can't tell you how many people are like, what is an HBCU? We still have that issue. So can you define that, please?
So HBCU is a historically Black college or university, and there is 107 of them, I think, currently. And they're mostly, of course, in the southern region, and they were in place because of obviously segregation. You know, Black students cannot go to the primarily white institutions that we know today. And so we made our own schools. And so that's what we call HBCUs. And I think by the definition that the government recognizes HBCUs as schools made for Black students before 1960. I'm not sure the exact date, but it's something similar to that. And then so all those schools in pretty much the South, and like Howard, like Morehouse, North Carolina A&T, FAMU, you name it. So there's plenty of them that are well known. Yeah.
I just wanted, because sometimes we just be talking as Black people, and then I'll finish a whole conversation and somebody didn't even know what I was talking about because they were still trying to figure out what HBCU meant. So thank you. Sorry, Mary, for that.
Oh, no, that's great. Thank you for defining that. That's awesome. Yeah, that's so great. I'm so excited that you're getting to attend that school, Miles. That's such a dream. That's great. That's good. Oh, well, before I move on to the next question, anybody else interested in answering that current question? I'll give you a second. Okay, go ahead, Summer.
Yeah, I think like with everything that's going on right now, it's rough. It is just having to just see on the news or on social media all the things that are going on, and you're just, my heart literally just hurts and like it breaks over everything that's going on, like, and just to see it keep going. But also in the end of it, I still feel like a sense of hope, because I'm like, on top of that, look at how many people are standing out against everything that's going on, against police brutality, against racial injustice. Like, it's so much. And then not just that, but all the people who, because of COVID, who are working and like being like the front liners and stuff, and like being in the hospitals, and people who have to work because other people need them. Like, it's such a huge thing. Granted, obviously being inside all the time sucks, but when we look at our lives, it's only such a small amount of time where we have to stay inside. But just because like we can't go out and do things doesn't mean that we can't let people know on social media. Like, us in this generation right now, we have such a huge high advantage because like we don't have to like send an owl or a pigeon telephone, you know what I mean, to like get a message out. We can use Instagram, we can use Facebook, Twitter, any type of social media to let people know what's going on and how to do things. So like for people who weren't able to do the walks for the protests and stuff, they were able to show their appreciation and their courage by posting things online because they weren't able to go out. But there's just so many different things that we can do. As much sadness as all of this brings me, I still see so much hope in it and stuff. So yeah, that's probably like my biggest thing. Other than it sucks having to stay inside. Like, yeah, but
true. And you're a very recent college grad too, and that's a challenge all in itself, you know, heading into the job force when it feels like, how do I do this?
Yeah, it was, especially just graduating in general, like you have such big plans for what you're going to do, like for graduation and like when my family was going to come out. Like 2020 was supposed to be like my big year. I was like so excited. It just shows how much like we don't have control over things and how we really have to like savor each moment that we have because of how much things can change in just an instant. I was super excited because this was going to be my first year graduating, from college. But on top of that, this was the first year my college was a university. So it was no longer Life Pacific College. It had just become a university. So I was going to be a part of the first class, or I am a part of the first class of Life Pacific University. And on top of that being 2020 and like so many other different things that were like, wow, like all of this is happening in 2020. Like that's so cool. And then COVID and all this other stuff happened, and it's like, okay, can I just take a break? But, and obviously like graduating in that sense, I didn't want to, I wanted to be able to do things differently, but it allowed me to make new memories. And you know how like when all of this started, they did like the parades for the people who graduated or who had birthdays and stuff, and the parade was going down the street and they would pass by their houses. Somebody from my church, one of my best guy friends, he coordinated it so that for my graduation, he had somebody do like a little pizza party for me for just, it was my family, him, and this other person. We were at their house and we were eating. And it was the day before I was leaving California. And all of a sudden, like my friend who became like a brother to me, he was like, oh, let me take some pictures over here. And I stand up and all these cars come passing for me. And I'm like, if it wasn't for COVID, I wouldn't have gotten that experience. So like, even though like it sucks, I still was able to get a super cool experience of being able to do that. So yeah.
It's awesome.
Yeah.
That's so unique. I love that. I love that positive spin. Thank you, Summer.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, you know, I want to hear from some of you. I know you may have to think way back on this, some of you, it's probably just yesterday, but what made you want to get involved in the STARS program? What was it that drew you to the STARS mentoring program? Go ahead, Bo, and then we'll do Janae.
So I actually really didn't know about STARS. I was a part of a different program in Pueblo that taught a lot of the similar values. And they were getting ready to go up to the STARS conference, and one of the leaders, she was like, hey, I'm applying for adult staff, so you should apply for youth staff even though you've never gone. And I was like, okay, like why not? I'll try it out. And I got accepted, and so I went, and it changed my life. Like I just saw how amazing it was to be surrounded by over 400 people my age and younger who just stood for something that they believed in, and having strong morals and values, and believing in you know, avoiding high risk activities and working toward big goals. And it was just so amazing to see that. And that was something that when I left that conference, I was like, we have to get this program in Pueblo, like because it was just so amazing and I loved it so much. And after that, I went to every STARS National Conference after. And then I was able, when I was in college, I got a program started here for a little while, and now we have a thriving program that is actually a part of Friends First. So yeah.
Awesome. But what was that first year again?
It was in 2010.
Okay, great.
Yep,
Wow.
back at CSU. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, I remember little Bo. Oh, that's so great. That's good. Thanks, Bo.
Janae?
Yeah, so I got involved in STARS. My paper says 8 years, but that's really when I was a youth staff member, but I was involved even before that as just a participant in the program. I think I was in like 7th grade. And I heard about it from really just friends of our family. And I was going to actually suggest this question should be reworded, and it should say like what kept you going, like what made you keep coming back to STARS. And I think kind of what Bo was saying, there's a huge sense of community there, and there's something special about being around people who are very strong-minded, people who are very focused towards really just like successful paths, who really want to help others. I think that there's a huge sense of that as part of the STARS program. And so when I went to the conference, it was at Colorado State in Fort Collins. And I had never seen that before. And I think I kept coming back because every year you know, I was learning something new. And then I had my, you know, group of friends. So it was nice having like that second family that I could always see every year. And then we would obviously keep in contact. So I think for me, it really just, what made me keep coming back was the fact that there was this huge sense of community in the program.
I love that.
Maybe I'm taking too much credit for Janae, but I was the one who took her to Howard University. Janae participated Day on the Hill and Advocacy Day, and we took 8 students, and I took them. It was the first time she got to see Howard, and now she's a Howard alumni. So I'm still the thunder there, Janae.
No, I was gonna bring that up in a later question, but yeah, that you are actually like the reason why I'm on the path I'm on.
That's beautiful. I love that. Thank you, Janae. That is such a great thing to say. I agree. I think that's what's kept me for the last many years at just being part of STARS, you know, and I never can get out of it because it is, you're right, it's that sense of community, a deep sense. Absolutely. Miles, do you want to talk a little bit?
We're not. So Miss Alicia may or may not remember this, but she kind of told my mom, her and my mom were pretty good friends. So she told my mom about the program. So my mom was like, well, you might as well go since you're not playing soccer this year. So I went, and then enjoyed it. I was pretty young. I was in middle school still. So I was like 2 years, I had 7th grade. So I was pretty really young. And so I was in a high school group. And at first I was like, I don't know anybody. And I actually knew a few kids in the youth staff, and I kind of stuck around them a lot. But I kind of got thrown into this program, and I was like, this is kind of fun, but I don't really feel like this is my space yet. And then of course, as the days kind of went through that first week, it was like more people started to like talk to me and make me feel like, you know, I was included in things. And that was really impactful to me. And so I was like, you know what, I want to come back next year and see if it's the same thing. And sure enough, it was. So I just kept coming back, and I loved it from then.
Yep. I remember little tiny Miles with his little glasses and his
where he
little
was
big ideas.
Isn't that amazing how he said, though, he was with a lot of high school students and he was only in 7th grade, but they still made him feel like he belonged, and they supported them. Yep.
That's lovely. That's awesome. Thanks for sharing. That's great. Good. So I guess I'll just move us into this, and I'd love for each one of you to answer this question if you can. What is your fondest memory from your STARS experience? It could be STARS mentoring, it could be SNC, it could be something completely unrelated to either, but what's your fondest memory of your STARS experience? Why don't we start with Peter? And you're muted, so you'll want to unmute. Oh, there you go.
Like, I'm thinking about STARS, I'm thinking like about how long it was ago. And how like we were so young, we were kids, because my favorite memory was my first year at STARS. I was a youth staff. It was a fuzzy. I got a fat fuzzy from a girl. I forgot her name. I think it was Danny. And it was a fuzzy. She said something nice. I think it was like, I have a crush on you or something. And I remember my whole like conference was just made right there. I remember I was just, we were so kids. Summer was there too as well for that conference. But this was the summer of 2015. That was one of my fondest memory of STARS right there. The fuzzy from Danny.
Yeah, that's good. I love it. Thank you. Go ahead, Summer.
Mary, will you explain what a warm fuzzy is?
Of course. Yeah, a warm fuzzy is something, it's a tradition we have at the STARS National Conference where we write kind notes to each other basically and put them on the wall, and they can be anonymous or they can be, you know, like from a person, but it's basically complimenting somebody and their character or something that you appreciate about them. And sometimes apparently it's also revealing somebody's got a crush on somebody else. So, hey, I mean, that's a big compliment in itself, isn't it? So
You should have seen me that summer.
Oh, I'm sure you were walking on air.
A lot of our new staff wanted to change the name Warm Fuzzy to Shout Outs because they thought Warm Fuzzy was so corny. But Mary and I held our ground. We have so
cute Warm Fuzzies.
Warm Fuzzies. Raise your hand if we should keep Warm Fuzzies.
That's right. I love it. Summer, what's your fondest memory?
So I enjoyed the mentor trainings and obviously like being a mentor and stuff and getting to meet my mentees. But I do have to say I loved SNC, and like one of the things as a youth staff that we did was have like on the last night an all-nighter. And like I think the year that with Peter, I remember like we had like this Nerf gun fight and it was so cool. Like we set it all up and stuff. It was when we were at DU and we were sleeping I don't remember where it was. We were sleeping in like one of the conference areas, and our goal was to stay up all night. And I remember I was one of the people who stayed up all night, and I took pictures with the people who were sleeping. So I have many different selfies of me with like different people who fell asleep that night. And I think I have one of you, Peter. Of you sleeping.
I think you do.
Yeah.
That is so
yeah, it was so funny. But I loved the conferences because like we would, even just like with the girls, we would like all go into one room and there's like we would tell scary stories or something, or we would, after every session, we would just like connect and be like, man, this is how I really felt about this session. Like this session really hit me like hard and stuff, or like just being able to come together after something that was hard and heavy. But even like getting to meet the speakers and like how much of an impact that they had on everyone, like it was super awesome. Yeah.
Wow.
That's great. And you know, one of my fondest memories of you, Summer, I'm just going to throw this out there, is how you love to dance. I don't know if you still love to dance, but you loved to dance.
Yes.
And you were always leading every single group dance out there. And, you know, you and Ben and a few others. And I just, I still love that about you. I still hear certain songs and I think of Summer. So that's so great. I love it.
So yeah, that was definitely the funnest thing. Even like the last days coming through, trying to hype everybody up, like, come on stage, let's go dance.
Hype squad. That's awesome. That's great. Janae, what's your fondest memory of stars?
So I'll share the one that I'm going to share later that Miss Lucia mentioned. I'll bring that up in a few moments. But I think for me, it was, I think, again, the first conference. I remember Ayinde Russell was the MC. And I think similar to Miles, like I really didn't know what stars was. So I was like, I want to know if this is for me, like at the beginning. But the way, like those skits, I just remember there were like a bunch of skits that they did. And I remember like kind of like watching them and thinking like, oh, like this is actually kind of cool. Like it wasn't like as corny as I thought it was going to be. It was like, I mean, the way the instruction I thought was great. So I think for me, it was the MC, Ayinde Russell probably was like the highlight of my stars experience, but just my first conference really set everything in motion for me.
Love that. That's so fun. I remember that. That's wonderful. Yeah, you're right. It was corny too, let's be honest, but it was like corny in all the best ways. So
exactly. We got to have all the new staff listen to this who don't understand the
What I'm saying, Alicia, they just don't understand the magic, right?
They don't understand the magic.
It's true.
Yeah, one time I had to dress up as Mario.
Yep, you were.
Mario and Luigi. I think it was with Ayinde too.
Yep. Those were good times, man.
Funny.
Lots of costumes. That's great. Miles, what's your fondest memory of stars?
Oh, I can't decide. Okay, it's between two, but I'm gonna keep it short. The first one is before I became youth staff, and it was like my second year doing it, and it was also at DU. Yakine, Lil Yakine, he came because it was his first year doing it, so it was my second, so we kind of became roommates together, and him and his friend, and then me and my cousin Isaiah, we were all in the same little quad. So we kind of hang out, and I feel like it was the last day of SNC, but we kind of like got together. Me and Yakine had become pretty good friends pretty quickly. And then so by that last night, we were just kind of hanging out, listening to music and talking. And it was just a really positive and just like a really fun conversation. And I feel like that was like one of my favorite conversations like even growing up, like, and me and y'all can still just talk about that year, our first year, like being together and stuff. And yeah, just like becoming friends, and you know, that was like one of my favorite moments of like Stars. The other one kind of blinked my mind, but I think it was, oh, I remember. Okay, so my first year doing Stars, it was 2014, I think, and it was Austin and Malcolm who I was with, and it was like the last day after like one of your guys' all-nighters, and we were just in the dining hall at breakfast. And I also remember because I was a part of youth staff, so I wasn't invited to the all nighter. And then so they were that's like I just ate breakfast with them normally. And I actually remember seeing them like eat their food because they was all tired from the all nighter, and eating it. Austin and Malcolm were like, they could not stay awake. And I remember Austin literally fell asleep halfway into bite like a spoon, like just like the spoon was in his mouth and he fell asleep. And that was literally, we were cracking up about that for the rest of the day. And that was just another good moment.
Great. I love it so much. That's good. All right, Bo, tell us your fondest memory.
Well, I will start with the friendships that I've made. Some of my dearest and best friends are people that I met at the Stars National Conference. But when I first heard this question, the memory that came to mind was one year I was on staff. I think it was my first year on adult staff, and the Friends First staff had a lot of faith and trust in me, and they even assigned me to my own group. I didn't have a partner, but then I was influenced by some friends. During our dinner break, we thought we had enough time to go watch the new Spider-Man movie. So we left campus to watch the movie, and we definitely did not have enough time. The movie went way longer. But when we came back, the staff, I'll just always remember coming back, and the staff was obviously not thrilled with us. But then at one point, Mary and somebody else had me stand up in front of the whole group, and they said, always remember, with great power comes great responsibility. Never forgotten that.
Wow.
And Spider-Man became a very big thing that year. Everybody was doing the Spider-Man.
Oh, that was a conference of so many memories of Spider-Man. And you're right.
The one where the boy scaled the wall?
Yes.
The
yes,
Spider-Man, yeah, we had yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry.
Oh, you just set the tone, Bo. It was great. Bo was on adult staff, and she really, we didn't communicate to them they shouldn't leave campus. And so they were like, let's go just do some things. And we just had to punk them. That's really all we did. We weren't mad. We were just like, let's punk them. Let's do this. And sure enough, and it killed me to make you feel bad. It was not my idea, I will say that much, but it was pretty funny.
Mary, one of my top memories, and maybe Miles hadn't started coming yet, I don't know, Janae would have been there, but remember we were doing those crazy things we do on stage, and Amber took off her sock, and then Chris Harrell or whoever poured a Coke into her sock, and this boy from Texas drank the Coke out of her sock. She had just taken off of her foot. And for somebody like who, I was the CEO at the time, I'm like, I'm gonna kill every person, every staff member who thought of this crazy stuff and making you guys eat crazy things and all of that. And all I'm doing is sitting there, liability, liability, liability. Look, all of you are still alive. You're doing well. And those memories have kept you bonded for life. So
much. It's so true. I agree. Sometimes those things we do are absurd, and sometimes we, in hindsight, maybe should not have done that. But man, they impact our students, don't they? You come out of it feeling like, where else could I go where I would do something so crazy insane and have a great story to tell? So yeah, it's true. That's good. I love it. I have too many favorite memories to count for my time in Stars. Truly, I think some of my favorites, though, when I was in high school as a Stars mentor, some of my favorites were getting the opportunity to be mentored by people like Gina Harris and by Josh Sosa and You know, one of my best memories, Josh was such a punk. He was just like, he was the kind of coordinator who loved to be silly and just prank his students all the time. And so one day, my friends and I, one night, we were like, we're gonna get Josh. And so we went late at night and snuck and toilet papered his whole house, and we didn't get caught. I mean, he was notorious for catching people getting his house, and we didn't get caught. And oh, he was not happy, but also so proud that we did something so terrible to him. And I just will never forget that, just being terrified we were going to get caught and we didn't. And so, yeah, you know, just having a mentor like that who, you know, would kind of encourage us to, obviously he didn't encourage us to do things like that, but it was, you know, he gave us that kind of relationship where we knew we could tease him, and he just still loved us anyway. And so I love that about stars, is having that opportunity to have that mentor in our lives. Well, I'm going to just ask one more question before I hand some questions to Alicia. But this question I would love for all of you to answer if you can. And really it's this: how has stars impacted your life? And what is something you learned in stars, or something that you experienced in stars, that you're still using to this day? Like, what is a takeaway that you apply to your life today?
And in the interest of time, we're going to have to keep it about 30 seconds per person.
Great.
Okay.
Great.
Thank you.
Yeah. Do you want to start? Let's see. Let's start with Miles this time. Miles, do you want to give us a little bit how stars impacted your life, and what are you using even now? And it's muted, so you want to unmute.
So sorry. Yes. For me, I would say stars impacted my life, and that I'm always looking for people who can help me. I'm always asking for advice. And now that I've had a year in college now, I have younger Morehouse brothers who are now coming into school, some of them from Denver who I already know. And I'm able to have these conversations with them about how to, matriculate through school and pay attention to all the things that they need to be paying attention to. And I feel like, a lot of the attitudes and a lot of the conversations I had at STARS conferences have helped me compose myself through a lot of tougher conversations with some people, and honestly, just in general life ideals, just focusing on what I need to be doing in order to succeed and help everybody else around me.
So you're living mentor life. Always have someone investing in you, and pay it forward by always investing in someone else.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
Good answer.
That's great. Summer, what about you?
For me, I think the biggest thing is feeling more free to be more vulnerable to other people, and in return, other people, like being open so that other people can be vulnerable with me. I remember one STARS national conference, that's what happened, was I was able to open up about something, and other people in return opened up about the same things that they were dealing with and stuff. So that's probably the biggest thing. And then also just one thing that I can take away is, or that I still carry, is it's important to always have a mentor. Like, having a mentor and being a mentor never stops, so.
Great. Thank you, Summer. Wonderful. What about you, Bo?
I would say it has taught me to be true to myself, standing firm in what I believe in, and the importance of mentorship and mentor life. And then the other thing, in 2012, Chris Harrell led a little workshop, and I still keep this picture in my room. It's probably my favorite thing in there. But he talks about being unforgettable, and so living in a way where you're mentoring people and investing in their lives so much that years down the road they remember you. You're someone who's unforgettable because of the impact and the positive influence that you were on their life.
Beautiful. Thank you. Peter, how about you?
I can still think back to my first day with STARS, and for me, Friends First really introduced me to mentorship, to always have a mentor, to be a mentor. and to always be intentional about making sure that I'm paying it forward. Like making sure that I'm seeking people that are like making sure like they're feeding me, so I can feed other people as well too. So just the whole idea of mentor life. That's what friends first gave me.
That's beautiful. Thank you, Peter. All right, Janae, what about you?
Yeah. So I guess for me, I kind of like I'd be asking like how it hasn't impacted my life. So like as Miss Alicia said earlier, she took me to DC, I think after my second year of being in the program. And I'd never heard of Howard before that, but she made sure that we had a trip. We had a visit there. We went and I instantly fell in love and applied. But when it was time to go, and I think if she had not taken me on that trip, I would have never, I don't even know if I probably would have known about Howard, but probably would not have really known what had the same impact because it was just a completely different energy there. So, I mean, just I think Miss Alicia really advocating for my future without even being aware of it really impacted my life. And I think if there's one takeaway, and you know, it's pretty much what everyone's been saying is just the value of mentorship. And really, I think that grows into sponsorship. So having someone who will really advocate for you. And I think in return, I've been making sure that the same way that she's kind of fueled my life, I do that to somebody. I try to invest in somebody else's life and make sure that I can either mentor them in some capacity and it'll hopefully lead to some sort of like sponsorship relationship where I will, you know, can really fully advocate for somebody else.
Yeah. And Janae, you were a Daniels Fund Scholar, right? And if I remember correctly, you told me you spoke a lot on your volunteer portion and community service portion of your interview about STARS. And since then, I've spoken to Daniels Fund staff, and that commitment to STARS is what made students like you, and I think we've had at least 4, 5, 6 others, that really was a part of their decision-making process.
Yeah, so in my Daniels Fund application, I bragged about STARS. In my college application, wrote a personal statement on STARS, and even in my interviews now, it's actually still on my resume. So I'm in interviews, people ask about it, and still advocating for STARS.
That's wonderful. Wow. That is so exciting to hear, all of you, and just, you know, the way that STARS has impacted your life, and really the way that you guys will then continue to impact your, you know, future generations because of the involvement that you had in this program and what the trajectory it set you on. I love that. At this point, I'm going to turn it over to Elisa to ask just a few more questions to kind of wrap us up. And so, yeah, take it away, Alicia.
So, how many of you think Mary should be a news show host? She is so good.
Well,
Shout
thank
out
you.
to Mary. I mean, I love it. Before I start answering the questions, because I don't want to forget this part, I just want to say something really quickly about each of you. Bo, you are the reason, don't cry, Alicia. You are the reason why we have programs in Pueblo, because when we got that grant application, and I knew I had heard about all the challenges in Pueblo, I remembered you, and it's what made me call. I think you remember I called you, and now we're in Pueblo in so many schools. We're writing it in so many grant applications. That's because of you. Janae, you, even now, like my daughter wants to go to law school, and I reached out to you and I asked you would you mentor her and talk to her, and I talk about you all the time as one of the things I'm most proud of in my life. Summer, you were Aaliyah's family group leader. The first year she went to STARS on her own. She's been going to STARS since she was 7 because she always came with me, but the first time she went on her own, you were her family group leader, and she fell in love with you, Summer, and she still talks about you. Miles, I don't know if I can look at you and talk, because I've known you since you were probably 8 or 9, and to see the man you have become. And I remember when you, at the STARS conference, when you went from little slightly annoying Miles because you were so young to like, oh my gosh, you were the hardest worker on youth staff and you just worked so hard. And more recently, we have a mutual friend who got diagnosed with COVID, and Miles wrote her a personal note, and we were just in awe of the maturity, the way a young man could express his heart and encourage someone. And I'd like to think that some of the way you were, like Summer said, you learned how to be vulnerable and open up and express your heart. Peter, I don't know what to say about you. Every time I open up Facebook, I go to 10 by 10 or I go to your site because I need some encouragement and I need to see what young people are doing. And every time I see you, I know we're going to get through this. So that's all that all of you. And Mary, you are one of my hearts because a lot of times, even when I said, this thing about 80% of kids are not mentored by people who look like them. That doesn't mean if you're white, you can't mentor a Black or brown child. It just means we need to be more diligent about making sure our kids have role models who look like them. But Mary, to this day, any kid that I'm in contact with, they always ask, how is Miss Mary doing? How's Mama Mary? And as people come and go at Friends First, I always get asked, Mary's still with you, right? And I say, yes, she is. So just wanted to share that about all of you. So my first question is, how has being a mentor or having a mentor made an impact on your life? And Janae, you shared already. So someone else, just one, maybe having a mentor or being a mentor, what impact did it have on your life? One way or the other. Summer?
I think the biggest thing is that not only has it, like, am I accountable for other people, but it's held me accountable for the actions that I've done myself. Being a mentor means you have to have integrity and hold to the truths that you share. And I think that's like probably the biggest thing, and just being able to grow and see my mentees become mentors. And it's just, I'm sure you and Mary know, like, it's such a rewarding thing to be like, oh my gosh, my babies, they grew up and now, so that's like the biggest thing for me, for sure.
Yeah, great quote we always use when one teaches to learn. And we find that our mentoring program has probably the most impact on the actual mentor as well as the mentee. So you're changing 2 lives, really 3 if you include the me and the Marys and those that have mentored you. One more person to answer this question, please. Why don't I ask Bo?
Yeah, I would say having a mentor has definitely helped me, especially with like my big life decisions. But being a mentor, I would say, has been more impactful just by putting the needs of others above my own. And again, like Summer said, just watching them grow and overcome life's challenges has really, it's just awesome to see people grow and become successful and strive for what they're going for in life.
Awesome. Okay, my next question, because I'm the CEO and we got to tell everybody about how wonderful STARS is. And Peter said he's going to have to go soon. So Peter, why don't you answer this question? And it's okay if you have to go, but what would you say to other teens who are considering participating in the STARS program? What would you say? And then maybe you can answer both, Peter. What would you say to a donor who is considering investing in STARS? Why should they invest? So teen, and then you're on mute.
Perfect. For me, like if you're thinking about going to STARS National Conference, or thinking about like going to STARS meeting, virtual or in person, please go. Being a senior in college now, just like, and being a human being, right? I feel like one of the things that we're all looking for is safe spaces. We're looking for spaces where we can go in and feel welcomed, or like a place where there's structure for us to feel respected and loved and cared for. And I've been like, even now that I'm on this call right now, I think for the first time it just clicked to me the importance of what STARS meant to me. For a freshman at NCS high school, STARS was my safe space. It was an opportunity for me to be surrounded by other students that were passionate about helping other kids, but also to be surrounded by my mentors who are passionate about me and bettering me and supporting me. Like as I think about it now, and I'm talking to donors specifically. Please make sure you invest in STARS. Please make sure you financially invest in STARS, because like at the end of the day, we all want to do good, and a lot of the people in STARS have this like passion for making sure students have the resources that they need to be successful, but they can only do that work if they have the financial support to do so. Like Mary is one of the greatest people that I've ever worked with. We asked about David earlier because David was my person at NCS. It was my person at STARS National Conference. He was the person that did the Nerf gun war and everything. David had the greatest stories and everything. He was just an awesome person. STARS mentors are awesome, so please invest in them, because they make kids like me feel like they matter. They make kids like me feel like they have a support system. So for people
and I was reading a grant application today, and it says not only do we have to create safe spaces, we have to create brave spaces. And Peter, you are one of the bravest young men I know. So I hope we had something to do with that. And so we're going to continue to answer the questions. We're going to actually end with that question because we're getting close to time. So you can stay on if you can, Peter. If not, thank you. Thank you. I salute you, and I'm so grateful to you. Who else wants to answer that question? What would you say to a teen, and what would you say to a school who is thinking on taking on STARS, or a donor? How about I go with Janae?
So I'd say to like a young person who is interested in joining a program or is curious about a program like this, to absolutely do it. You don't know something unless you try. And so the program is it's invaluable. I think you get more than the mentorship and more than friends. You kind of get knowledge that you probably have, were not exposed to before. You have these conversations that absolutely need to be had, and Summer talked about it earlier. There's a lot of things that are out of our control. And so I think as far as just having the space to talk about some of these issues is the best way to work through them. And I think for a donor, it's greater than a financial investment. I think what Peter basically pretty much said what I was thinking. A lot of people are really unable to make changes because they don't have some resources. And something as simple as being able to attend a conference or being able to attend a STARS meeting could have a very significant impact on a person's life and can affect the decisions they make in the future. So, it's truly, I think, an invaluable experience, and the growth that every participant has is, pretty clear. The people on this Zoom call, it's had a very positive experience on everyone, and we're all paying it back. So it's definitely a worthwhile investment.
Thank you. We're going to probably wrap it up, and I'm going to have Bo answer that question, and then we're going to wrap it up because we're getting close to time. I could go on and on and on, but it's come to that time.
I would say to a student who is considering participating, absolutely do it. Do it, do it, do it, because it will change your life. And to somebody who's considering donating, Janae used the right word. This is an investment more than a donation, because you're investing into the lives of our future. And through this program, students learn so much, and they're empowered to become successful individuals and to change the world around them. And so I would highly encourage you to make that investment into what Friends First is doing through the STARS program.
Thank you. Thank you so much. So there you have it, folks. STARS alumni, they're killing the game in everything they do. Bo, Miles, Summer, Janae, Peter, you had to step off. You are why we do what we do. You are my sheroes and my heroes. You will make the greatest difference in our lives. You are our future. And we are proud to know you and to have been a part and to continue to be a part of your story. If you need anything, Mary and I got you. We're going to do what we're going to do. Right, Mary?
That's right. I just want to say thank you for participating, everybody. And please just keep in touch. You know, I know that we see you guys kind of pop in and out of social media, or when we can be together again, let's, you know, we'll all be together maybe at SMC next year. Let's cross our fingers. But we're so honored to have been a part of your lives, and that you have been a part of our lives. You've impacted Alicia and me and, you know, all of your STARS coordinators and people just immensely in so many ways, just because you guys are just incredible people. So thank you. Thank you for being part of this tonight. You just make me so grateful for what I get to do every single day.